Hello and welcome to Let Me Bore You to Sleep. My name's Jason Newland. Please only listen when you can safely close your eyes. This is Monday's Boring Objects. My website for this podcast is letmeboreyoutosleep.com. Although my jasonnewland.com is still in operation, it's just a watered down version with all the links to previous hypnosis stuff. And also, if you'd like to become part of Jason Newland's Facebook group, I'm talking about myself in the third person there. My Facebook group is called Jason Newland's Boring Group. And if you'd like to join, then groovy. So what I thought I'd do, I sound very young today for some reason. Don't sound my actual age. Last night, I was I think I was on YouTube going through some of the, no, not YouTube, no, I think it was Apple Music, and I was just going through some of the music some of the songs that I like, and I forget how many songs I actually really like from the past. And sometimes I do get asked that question. By the way, it's Vinny in the background, if you're wondering what all that noise is. I do get asked, like, what's my favourite song or what's my favourite album, and off the top of my head I seem to come up with very similar answers rather. But if I have the information in front of me, like all the different songs that have been released, I've got more of an opportunity to actually be reminded of some of the songs that I'd forgotten about. So what I'm going to do for this Monday's Boring Objects, I'm just going to talk about some of my favourite songs from the 80s. Now, I'm going to go maybe my favourite, it might just be my favourite songs from 1980, because I don't know how far I can go, because I'm going to look through the whole year. Because it's not just number one hits that I would like. There's going to be songs that maybe were in the top 10, top 20, top 30 even, that I might have really liked. So I don't want to just find the number one hits from the UK, in 1980, because it might give me maybe 30 songs, maybe 27 songs or whatever. Because sometimes songs are there for more than 1 week, aren't they? So, so I thought I'm on a website called officialcharts.com. Now, I hope that this is only going to be in the UK. It won't matter too much because there's a crossover, obviously. I mean, so many songs that I loved were from other countries. However, there's going to be, I know sometimes I hear a song and it was a massive hit in America. Absolutely huge hit. I saw one the other day, it was something on YouTube, I think it was this morning actually. It was something really random, and it was like something, The Corner or something, and it was the Jackson 5, and apparently it was a big hit in America. I've never heard the song before. So I'm just going to go through 1980. So the top charts this is the 20th of the 1st, 1980. Brass in Pocket, The Pretenders. Okay, so I'm just going to go through. A lot of these songs I'm not necessarily going to remember, but then if I heard it, I'd probably think, ooh, but I'm not going to hear it because I'm doing this. I can't play music, not chart music. Be nice if I could, because I'd like to do a kind of like a weekly radio show where I played music that I like. Maybe even I like the idea of maybe doing two. One show of the weekend, maybe on a Saturday, where I talk music I like, and then the Sunday show could be a request show. But there doesn't seem to be any way of doing that, like legally doing that without it costing money. Which is a shame, because Spotify used to allow that a few years back, and I did do a few episodes where I could just do a mixture of this and play a song. So I'd like talk about the song, what it meant to me, you know, all that stuff, all that drivel, and then play the song. So it's kind of, yeah. So I'm looking at this, My Girl from Madness, My Girl, my girl. So it's My Girl. I like that. I liked everything Madness did. So I don't remember that particular song off the top of my head. But then here, number 4, I'm in the Mood for Dancing. One of my favourite songs that I never even think about. I'm in the mood for dancing. I actually dreamt about the Newland sisters last night. I dated one of them. In my dream, that is. Very strange. Very random as well. So, it's kind of, I mean, number 1 was Brass in Pocket, The Pretenders. Number 2 was With You, I'm Born Again, Billy Preston and Sarita. I probably know both those songs, but I don't. Can't think what they are. So 1980, it's kind of still similar songs from 1970s. It's kind of the crossover period, isn't it? The music's starting to change. And then at the end of the 80s, the music changed again into being dominated in the UK by Stockaken and Waterman, with Kylie Minogue and Jason Donovan and Rick Astley and Sunita and yeah. Some of the songs were catchy, but it wasn't for me. Although I did like Rick Astley, his voice. I didn't really like his songs, the hits, but he did do When I Fall in Love. Like the ballad is very good. I saw him sing it live. Such a great singer. But, you know, anyway. I'm in the Mood for Dancing. I remember hearing that. Why is my laptop vibrating? It is a laptop, isn't it? It's weird. I remember being at a wedding. So I guess it must have been 1980. So our weddings, I'd have been 9. And see, to me, I remember I was like tiny, but I probably was tiny at 9. So yeah, but for some reason I thought it was a lot earlier than that. So the I'm in the Mood for Dancing was being played, and I was dancing. And then my stepmom had a headache or something, and she went home. And my dad took me and my 3 brothers. I guess she must have gone. I don't know who the baby was with. Well, my little brother. But we all went out into the sea, which is, I think, and it was night time. And I do believe it's the first and only time we ever went into the sea together. I just remember that. And it's the only first time I ever felt safe in the sea, because my dad was there. It's weird, isn't it? Okay. I Want to Hold Your Hand, Dollar. No, I don't remember that one. I remember Dollar. because they were on the Rolf Harris show when I was on the Rolf Harris show, but they had one really big hit. Pink Floyd, Another Brick in the Wall. I like that song, but I don't really remember it, like, when it came out. I thought it was like from the 70s, that song. Yeah. Oh, another brick in the wall, blah, blah. Tears of a Clown, The Beat. It's Different for Girls, Joe Jackson. I Have a Dream, ABBA. Yep. It's quite weird because, see, this is again kind of strange, because this is 1980. I thought ABBA was pretty much over and done with by 1980. Not over and done with, but they had like such a huge success in the 70s. I didn't know they had any hits in the 80s, but clearly they did, because I Have a Dream was brilliant. It peaked at number 2 though. I have a dream, blah, 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 blah. London Calling, The Clash. So this is where the 70s clashed. Do you see what I did there? Ooh, with the 80s. So people like The Clash, The Specials, kind of carried on from the 70s to the 80s. So they almost kind of created the 80s in a sort of a new way. And London Calling, I remember that one. But Luke loved The Clash, London Calling, and the I forget what the other one, another group. The Specials, Too Much Too Young. Too much too young, do do do. Too much too young, do do, something like that. They did a really good song called Ghost Town. It's town. Look at it, a ghost town. All the things are up down. Something like that. And I actually went to lunch with him, the bloke from the Specials. He's no longer with us, unfortunately, but I didn't know who he was. So there was this lady called Helen. She was a BBC, I think she was self-employed at this point, but she was a producer, film producer and TV producer. Blah, blah, blah. And I don't know why, but we just built a friendship up. She'd started doing comedy, we met at a comedy gig, and we just hit it off. She was probably in her 30s. I was, 20? This is in the 90s when I met her. I was probably like 22, maybe. And 23. And she used to take me out. It wasn't a relationship, although I started to have a few feelings for her because I spent so much time with her, but it wasn't a relationship like romance, but she just liked spending time with me. And she used to take me to theatres, take me to concerts, take me out for meals. And I kind of got a chance to see the other side of life, you know, the side where there was no penny counting, let's check what I can afford on the menu. It felt quite nice, and I do. Part of me was like, am I taking advantage of her? But I wasn't, because I don't really care. That in them days, I couldn't care if I was eating in a top class restaurant or in McDonald's. I really didn't care as long as I was able to fill my tummy. That's really, you know, with something tasty, hopefully. But yeah, I think part of the reason it wasn't costing her money to go to a lot of these concerts, because she'd get tickets sent to her because I wanted to give her to give reviews, and because she was a TV producer and she knew a lot of people. And so she'd get a lot of comp tickets So yeah, I went to a concert. I forget his name, but he had one really big hit. American guy with a Elvis kind of style hair. Oh, what was his name? I forget his name. Really, really, super good looking bloke. And it's a really good song as well. Like the one it's one of those like really, really good songs from the 90s. That was like a huge hit. And off the back of that, he was able to sell out, concerts and stuff around the world, I guess. Oh, what's his name? Anyway, we went along. We got bored and left because I only knew one song. I wasn't a fan of his, but we just couldn't be bothered because it was full of there's a lot of very young females screaming, and it was like, okay, this isn't really. It was a little bit, I don't know, it just felt a bit strange being there, and I didn't know if it had been someone that I knew, I could have got super excited probably, but there was one point when he gets on stage, everyone's sitting in their chairs, in their seats, and it's I don't know, a theatre. There's probably a couple of thousand people in there, and he's standing there. Everyone's clapping and woohoo, whatever. And he starts talking to everyone, and he looks great, he sounds great. I don't think he's actually started singing yet. And this surprised me. He said to the audience, he said, "You can come up and." This is totally true. I'm not making this up. He said, "You can come up to the front if you want and scream. You can stand at the front and scream if you want." So all these girls just started running up and screaming. And I just thought it was quite weird that you'd almost need to instigate it yourself. But yeah, it was, I don't know, it was funny. But we didn't, I don't know if it was that I didn't want to watch it or that she didn't want to watch it, the lady I was with. But in the end we left. But I did go to a few operas, and I also went to see Waiting for Godot, which had Rick Mail and Adrian Edmondson in. And there was a huge wait for it to start because he hadn't turned up, or he was late getting there. I think Rick Mail. I'm pretty sure it's quite weird because it was Waiting for Godot, wasn't it? So we were waiting for Rick Mail. And I think it was like half an hour, 40 minutes late starting. But everybody wanted to see Rick Mail because Rick Mail, if you don't know who Rick Mail is, or Adrian Edmondson, if you're not from the UK and you've not heard of them, they were in a TV show. They were basically heroes of comedy in this country. They're icons, really. They were in The Young Ones, which was a anarchic TV show in the 80s, early 80s. 83, 84 time. And so they were both comedians, comedy actors and stuff. And then they went on and had their own double act where they, was it called Filth? I can't remember what it's called. Bottom, that's it. They had their own TV show called Bottom, which they performed all around the country, maybe around the world, I don't know. And that went on for ages, many, many years. And Rick Mail was also in lots of different sitcoms and stuff. And I think Adrian Edmondson did a bit more serious stuff later on because he was in Holby City. So he's just a really good actor. They were both really good actors. But Yeah. It's just that I remember one that Ricky, or did he, what was a TV show? It was about a minister called Bastard, Alan Bastard, and it's very funny. So Rick Mal, did I say Ricky? Didn't I? Rick Mal was the star of that, and it was very good, very funny. That was in the 86, probably about 88 time, 89, 88, 89. Anyway, but I also, so going back to Helen, I went to, she said, oh, I want to meet up with her. She lived in, where did she live? What's that movie? North London movie named after a North London area. From a bloke who did 3 weddings and a funeral. Notting Hill. She lived in Notting Hill. And she lived in a really nice area. Big streets, loads of trees. She lived in this flat, which was bigger than a house. It was like really quite a nice place. I couldn't find her for ages, honestly. It was like it wasn't on the A to Z. It was hidden. Anyway, I went to visit her one day, and I think it was Saturday, and she said, oh, I'm going for lunch. Should we go for lunch? I said, oh, okay. So she went to lunch, and then when we got there, she said, oh, I'm meeting, I can't remember his name, I have to put it in now. The specials. See, I didn't realise, okay. Terry Hall, that's it, Terry Hall. So Terry Hall, she said, oh, I got a friend coming along. I said, okay, cool. I didn't like the idea of that, but I said, oh, fair enough. Not a paid tree girl, is it? And she said no. I said, okay, fair enough. And she said, it's Terry Hall. I said, yeah. It means nothing to me. And so he came along, and they were just talking. They'd known each other for, seemed like forever, good friends. And he was really friendly, really nice bloke. And she was talking about what's he up to, and they were talking about music and some stuff that he was getting on with. But at no point did he mention, or did she mention to me, that he was a big star. Like, he'd been in, I think, 3 big bands in the UK. Terry Hall, I mean, he's not around anymore, but he kind of was, is it ska? He I think, created ska, a sort of certain type of music, which then led to Madness and maybe Adam and the Ants, should we say, possibly? I don't know. Anyway, very influential, and had loads of people in the band. It wasn't just like 3 people or 4 people, there was lots. So he was never going to make a huge amount of money if it was shared out amongst everyone. And I quite liked that. I think he was just having fun with his friends, you know. And they did, such a great song, Ghost Town, which was #1 for a couple of weeks. But that's later on in the 80s. I'm not sure if I'm going to get past the first week of 1981. That's not good, is it? How am I supposed to... maybe this should be my new weekly recording. Songs I like. The charts from the 1980s, because I'm going to struggle to get through just 1 week. So if you think about that, that's going to be 52 weeks times by 10 years. 520 recordings, 520 years. 520 years? Really? So each year is going to be one... Yeah, it's going to take me 1 year to do, isn't it? 52. which means maybe I should have started in 1970. But then that wouldn't make sense, would it? Because that means I have to live to be another 55 years old. But then by the time I'm in another 55 years, there'll be another 55 years to talk about. Oh. Unless I just say my favourite songs. So this could be the first episode of my favourite songs. But then I've already started it on the Boring Monday. Perhaps if I hadn't mentioned Boring Monday's objects. But then I keep mentioning Boring Monday's objects. Monday's boring objects, rather. I don't know. Anyway, so we're just having a nice chat. See, if I'd known how I was back then, when the waiter came round and sort of said, "Oh, are you ready to order?" How could I not have said, "What are the specials today? What's today's specials?" Because he was in a band called The Specials. And I'd have looked stupid. I'd have looked really dumb. I'd have found it hilarious as well at the time. He probably wouldn't have done. She might have done, I don't know. She might have just been embarrassed. But I think that was part of the deal. I was quite embarrassing. I think she quite found that quite amusing. And he was lovely. Really nice bloke. Now back then I did not like meeting new people. I've never really enjoyed meeting new people. I'm okay once I meet them, once I've kind of got to know if they're safe or not, I suppose, in a weird way. But it's easier when it's just lunch. If it's just like an hour or two, like, okay, I haven't got to see him again. But when it comes to like working or someone moving in and like to a building or into a house that I'm living in when I was in the past, or me moving into a new home and having to sort of get to know new people, or me starting a new job, yeah, I've never enjoyed that. But it's weird because eventually you just get to know people, don't you? It's standard. I mean, when I started doing taekwondo, I remember, what was I, 30? No, I was 41. No, was I 41? No, I was 40. I was 40 years old when I started doing taekwondo. And I didn't know anyone there. And eventually I kind of got to know some of the people, and I was quite friendly with the instructor because he was more my age than anyone else, because he was about 10 years older than me. A lot of the other people were like 10 years, 15 years old, 20 years old, 25. You know, there's a lot of much younger people than me. I was the youngest, but I wasn't the fattest. I was the second fattest. The second fattest. But he was much more. I don't call other people fat, but I'm just saying. Okay, I was the second most rotund, and he was a lot fitter than I was. And I remember thinking back to that time, because I know I lost weight when I was doing it, and after probably 6 months, I'd slimmed down. And I remember that because the instructor was saying, "You've lost weight." I said, "Oh, thanks." And I believed him, because why would someone lie about that? That'd be cruel, wouldn't it? Especially if I start walking around without a top on, thinking I'm slim now, and then everyone's laughing at me. It's like, no. The police are arresting me. It's like, oh, put your boobs back inside your bra. It's like, wow. And I see a picture recently that I've got of that time. And there's a picture of my belly just flopping over the belt. It's just like, wow, that's me having lost weight. Crazy. And I was standing there thinking I was slim. Wow. Too much, too young, Oh, forget that, I don't know. Anyway, so I'm looking at this, Spirits, Having Flown, the Bee Gees. Is It Love You're After, Rolls Royce, Spacer, Jazz Carnival, 17, Regents, Rapper's Delight, The Sugar Hill Gang. I don't know any of these. Day Trip to Bangor. If I Only Want to Be With You. I only want to be with you. Do. Was that done by quite a few different people? It peaked at number 4. The Tourists. I only want to be with you. Wasn't there a really famous person that sung that? Like really famous. Like in the 60s or the 70s or something. So I remember the song. I know the song, but I don't know which version that was. Living by Numbers, Escape, Rupert Holmes, the Pina Colada song. I probably know that, but I can't think of it. Working for the Yankee Dollar, Skids. I'm beginning to think this is not a UK charts. This is... Oh, it is. It is. Okay. It just seemed like songs I've never heard of, but yeah. Is this love that I'm feeling? Is this the love? Is that the one? The Rolls Royce? If it is, then it's a great song. Rapper's Delight, the Sugar Hill Gang. Nope, I don't know. It sounds familiar. Like the song, the sound, the title, Rapper's Delight, and then the Sugar Hill Gang. So I've heard of the Sugar Hill Gang. Working for the Yankee Dollar, Skids. Too Hot, Kool and the Gang. Too hot. I'm in the mood for being too hot. Feel like being too hot. Maybe that's it, yeah, Kool and the Gang. I probably know that song, but it's not my Kool and the Gang go-to, as it were. So when I was a DJ, Kool and the Gang songs were quite popular. There were quite a few, like, dancey tracks. So Kool and the Gang, I liked them, but I don't remember Too Hot. Buzz a Diddle It, Matchbox. No, that's number 30. Don't know that one. I probably do, but I can't see off. Just from the title, there's no image or anything. My Feet Keep Dancing, Cheek or Chick, 31. No. Blue Peter by Mike Oldfield. Now, I'm surprised at that. The reason I'm surprised is because I know who Mike Oldfield is. I know Blue Peter. It's the Blue Peter theme tune for one of the most famous children's TV shows in the UK history, Blue Peter. Possibly the longest running. I don't know if it's still going now. But it was like so I'm thinking maybe Mike Oldfield was asked to revamp it and make it sound better. Did Mike Oldfield? Oh, did he do the? No, did he? Mike Oldfield. Did he? Well, did he do Tubular Bells? Am I thinking of someone else? Which makes him one of the most famous producers of music. Did he do the Big Brother theme tune? But anyway, I know the tune, like really well, because I've heard it thousands of times when I was a kid, probably. But I don't remember it being in the charts, but clearly it was for 24 weeks. It peaked at number 19. No, it was in the charts for 8 weeks, peaked at number 19. Lowest week was number 24. Coward of the Country, Kenny Rogers. I think with someone like Kenny Rogers, I will recognise this song when I hear it. But I won't necessarily know the title of the song. Because really, unlike in, I'm going to say America because I don't know about other countries. I know in America, country and western music it was huge, and maybe it still is huge. In this country, country and western, is it country? No, country, it's not country and western, is it? Country music, sorry, country music. There's always been a place for it here. And there's been some huge stars that have had, big hits from the country world, music world, over the decades in the UK. But it's never been a dominant music here. So you're unlikely to see like a top 40 where you've got 10 songs from the country music. But some of the really big people like Dolly Parton, but there was more her popular songs that became popular. That sounds weird, doesn't it? It's like 9 to 5 and Jolene, things like that. So I actually had an uncle who was in a country band, and it was the biggest country band in the UK. He won awards, like the most popular country band every year. And I was so impressed until I realised there was only 4 bands in the country. I'm joking. He was so good. I went to one of his gigs once, and I think he was doing it for probably 4 decades, 5 decades. Seriously, from just did it forever. But he started off probably doing like 60s music, and then he kind of moved into country in the 70s. Or in the 60s. Country's been around forever, isn't it? Not the country with the trees, I'm talking about country music. Got to Love Somebody, Sister Sledge. Got to love somebody. I'm in the mood for got to love somebody, for loving somebody. I don't know that one then. It peaked at number 34, so that wasn't like a big... Strange Little Girl, Sad Cafe, nope. Youngblood, UFO. Sarah, Fleetwood Mac, don't know that one. My Simple Heart, The 3 Degrees. 39, Paradise Bird, The Letter. Wonderland, The Commodores. Now, I probably do know those. However, January 1980. 1st to 20th. 20th? It's doing wrong. Why is it doing that for? 6th of the 1st. 6th of the 1st. 1st of the 1st? Should we see 1st of the 1st? 20th of January 1980. Right, that's the first one that we can do. Charts. Okay, so 12th of September. Why? Why have you done that for? Why? 12th of September. I don't want 12th of September 2025. It's taken away from me. It's saying no. Do what I told you, or don't do anything at all. Stop, no. I've got to go all the way back to 1980. It's going to take absolutely years. In fact, it won't even let me go. I only go back as far as 2021. Why? Why are you doing this? Okay, so for some reason it's blocked me out. And I don't understand why. I don't get... Oh, let's go to Wikipedia, see if that'll do it. 1980. Best-selling single of the year. Madonna had 6 number ones during the 80s. So go to 80s. So look, Music Week. During the 80s, there were a total of 191 singles, which took the UK chart number 1 spot. Madonna was the most successful single act of the decade, as 6 of her singles reached the top spot. George Michael had significant involvement with 8 number 1 singles, with 2 number 1 singles as solo artist, 4 as a member of Wham, and 1 as a duet with Aretha Franklin, and 1 as a member of a charity supergroup, Band Aid. 6 singles. Oh, okay. Frankie Goes to Hollywood received the longest number 1, which was 9 weeks in 1984, 2 Tribes. The best-selling single of the decade, 1980s, was Do They Know It's Christmas by Band Aid, selling more than 3.5 million copies and passing Muller of King Tyre by Wings to become the best-selling single ever. All together now. Muller King Tyre, no need for the answer. The only song I've ever enjoyed listening to bagpipes. I'm not a fan of bagpipes. Bagpipes. No, sorry. I can't. I don't know, I think it's just not really, my ears aren't suited for it. I'm sure they're amazing. My ears can't adapt to bagpipes. And not everybody that plays bagpipes in public. I'm trying to think what the correct word is. Not everyone that plays bagpipes in public should play bagpipes in public. Yeah, I think it's quite a difficult instrument to learn, I think. It must be. Otherwise more people would be good at it. I'm sure they are, but just, I'm moving on. 1980 saw the introduction of the cassette single. Really? I thought that was around for ages. I used to buy the cassette single along the 7-inch and 12-inch format. And in 1987, major record labels developed a common format for the CD single. I tell you what, I don't think I started listening to CDs till the late 90s. So it took me 10 years before I even accepted the CDs existed. Honestly, still buying tapes. Best-selling single of the year. Oh, wait a minute. 1970, okay, 1980. So it's going to give me, this is for the whole year, so I'm not going to go by week now, because it's going to take ages. This is the number, so, why has it got a number for? It's very weird. So let's have a look. These were the ones, weeks at number 1. These were the number 1 songs. Pink Floyd, Another Brick in the Wall. Pretenders, Brass in a Pocket. Blondie, Atomic. I loved Blondie. Blondie. See, when I get asked a question on a Q&A Friday, I'll say, I'll go to the music and I think, well, Madonna, and Terence Trent D'Arby, and I'll sort of think about, Michael Jackson and the Beatles and Stevie Wonder and George Michael and different various people that I really loved a lot. But there was a lot of songs, a lot of singers, a lot of bands that I never bought an album of, ever, like Blondie. And I love so many songs that Blondie did, particularly The Tide is High. Because I remember couldn't tell you the exact year. I could, because I could look it up, couldn't I, actually? Let's look it up. Why am I being so coy? The Tide is High, which I would say is one of their biggest hits. The Tide is High. Come on. Blondie and discography. Blondie. Right, I want singles, not albums. Essential, great, no. I want singles. Live albums. These are just albums. I want singles. Where's the singles? Oh, here we go. Right, so let's go down to the correct year. So I'm just going down. They started in 1976. They had a number one in Belgium and number one in New Zealand with Denise. Denise. UK was number 2, so that was a great song. Loved that. That was 1978. See, I didn't realise that. Hanging on the telephone. That was 78 as well. And it reached number 5 in the UK. See, that's weird, right? Why are none of those listed in the US? So Denise, didn't even register. They didn't release it in America. An American group, I do believe. Hanging on Telephone didn't release it in America because it didn't chart. How? Please explain that to me. How? Great song, 2 great songs. Got number 5 here. So it charted the highest in the UK. And Denise charted second highest in the UK, but it went to number 1 in New Zealand and Belgium. And then in 1979, Heart of Glass reached number 1 in the UK, but also in the US. So that must have been their big breakthrough hit. It reached number 1 in Australia, in Canada, Germany probably, isn't it? Germany, and New Zealand. So big hit. It got silver? I don't know why it's saying silver. So Heart of Glass. Then Sunday Girl. It didn't even get in the charts in America. This is 1979. Wait a minute. Heart of Glass was 79. Sunday Girl got to number 1 in the UK again, and also Ireland. But it didn't chart in America. And then One Way or Another, I'm gonna get ya, I'm gonna get it, one way or another. See, don't anyone remember that? It was a good song. It did chart in America, 24, got to number 98 in the UK. So maybe people in this country were we're getting bored, which I understand, because Blondie was amazing. Dreaming. So in America, they started to get more like hits, but they were still only getting like 24, 27, 84 when Dreaming got to number 2 in the UK, 27 in America. Union City Blue, 13 in the UK, didn't even register in America. And the hardest part got to 84. The thing is, number 84 in an American chart when you got 300 plus thousand people, compared to probably back then, I don't know what, 55,000, 300 million, probably 310 million or 20 million in America. Here there was probably about 55, 56 million in 1980, 1979, 50 million. It's a lot more now. And then, at the end of 1979, Call Me. Number 1 in America, number 1 in the UK. So it's weird. So 1979, from the looks of this, so Heart of Glass, I'm confused. So Heart of Glass, so Call Me was 1980, so they got one number 1 in America, Heart of Glass, in 1979. That was their first song that got to number 1. And in 1980, Call Me got to number 1, and in the UK as well. So technically, we appreciated and realised how wonderful Madonna, how wonderful Blondie was, kind of before anyone else. It was only us, Belgium, maybe Ireland, Canada were the only ones that really appreciated how brilliant they were. But Call Me, that was their, I guess, that real, I wouldn't say their breakthrough, because they had a number 1 in America, and it went gold, so they made a lot of money from that one song. So it was, successful wise, but it's just weird that they didn't get in the top 10 with any of the other songs until Call Me in 1980. Number one in America. Atomic only got to number 39 in America. What is wrong with you people? Got to number 1 here. We're the only country that appreciated Atomic. 39. You do realise, when we did our charts in the UK, we didn't go below 40. It was also top 40. So any charts below that wasn't even mentioned, ever. They got no publicity. In the UK, that is. In the United Kingdom of England, Commonwealth, Britain. Atomic. So Atomic got to number 1 in the UK, but it also charted in the top 20 in every other country, well, apart from one, America, and which is 39, and Canada. Right, so then you've got Heroes. That didn't chart at all. I don't know what happened there. A non-album single. And then, my favouriteest song that they ever did. And this is what I was going to talk about. This was 1980. Which is weird, because I was... Yeah, I suppose it makes sense. 1980... Does it say when? Does it say when? From the looks of it, it's at the end of 1980, so probably the winter 1980. So I'd turned 10. My oldest brother was 14. He had a job at Tesco or some supermarket up the road, round the corner, part-time. And we used to get... He was more obsessed about the charts than I was. Now, I was happy to wait till Thursday to watch it on Top of the Pops. But the actual chart was released on a Tuesday. And the only way I could spoil, I kind of had to listen to it on a Tuesday in order for him not to spoil it for me, because he'd tell me who was number one. Otherwise, because there'd be 2 days till it was actually released on Top of the Pops on a Thursday night. So he used to listen to it on a Tuesday, and what we did is, I remember one particular night, he was working, it was dark outside. I'm adding that for effect, I don't know. Who knows, I can't remember. But I remember taping the top 40, and I'm guessing it was on Radio 1. And they did the top 40 charts, and I recorded the whole thing. Now, the tape needed to be turned over in order to record the other side of the tape because of the length of the show, which was probably 3 hours long, maybe 2 hours long. And he kept saying, don't tell me who's number one. I don't know why, but he was really looking forward to it. I wanted Debbie Harry to be number one, because I loved The Tide Is High. It's my favourite song at the time. And should I sing it to you? The tide is high, the tide is high, the tide is high, the tide is high. And I remember, it's weird, I got this memory, I remember we had this like stacked system. It was like all in one, with like two, there was a record player at the top with a plastic cover that you pulled up. And there was a radio inbuilt, and then further down there was 2 tape recorders side by side, which you could tape. You could tape to tape. And then at the bottom, I think there was room for albums to be put. And it had this glass, kind of like dark glass door with a magnet, so you could just push it and it would just click shut. Magnetized. I think the reason I remember, I think my dad still got it. Actually, I think he's still got it, or he did still have it when I was living with him in 1990 for a little while. So I've probably seen it loads of times over the years, so that's why I remember it. Maybe. But I just remember sitting there on the floor, making sure that I got all the songs. And I've got this memory, and I might have made this bit up, but he was kept phoning up from work. He only lived round the corner. Kept phoning up from work to say, "Did you remember to phone? Do you remember to record it?" I said, "Yes." I think at one point he actually came home on his break, because it was literally 30 seconds walk. Just came in to check that we were recording it. It's like, yes, we know it's the most important thing in the world. We're doing it. Because me and my brother were both doing it together. My other brother. Like, what's so important about this? He said, you don't understand. You don't understand how important this is. I do wonder if we had different parents. So, Tide Is High. That was one of my favourite songs. I don't know why I'm mentioning The Tide Is High. Why was I talking about The Tide Is High? Rapture. See, that got to number 1 in America, but it got to number 5 in the UK. I don't even remember that one. So this is really weird, unless it was a different chart in America. But clearly, Blondie was much bigger in the UK than it was in Not in amounts of people, because we've got a much smaller population, but as far as like the percentage, or the amount, well, from a chart perspective, Blondie were just reaching a much higher position. But I'm guessing, like, let's say for example, the first number one, Heart of Glass in America, that one song probably sold more singles in America than all of Blondie's songs did in the UK, all combined. Just that one song in America. So it's, you're going to look at it different directions, I suppose. But anyway, Blondie was good. That's all I was trying to say, is I like Blondie. Fern Kinney, The Jam, Going Underground. I'm going underground. I like that song. Together we are beautiful. It got to number one, don't know what that is though. The Detroit Spinners, I'm working my way back to you, babe. That was a good song, I like that. And that got to number two. This is 1980. I'm still on 1980. I've gone from the first week to the whole year. Dexy's Midnight Runners, Gino, got to number two. Johnny Logan, What's Another Year? This is 17th of May, 1980, got to number two. 31st of May, The Mash, a theme from Smash. No, theme from MASH. I'm not going to read it out because it's a topic that's not really acceptable to say online anymore. But if you watch MASH, you know the theme tune. It's I didn't realise. I thought MASH was, because I watched MASH for the first time about 1984. When I got my first TV. It might have been 85, but I think it was 84. I got my first black and white TV, and I just got these memories. It was because I was a bit of a gogglebox person. I loved television. Television was better than real life for me personally. It's how I felt, and I enjoyed it. It was escapism. And it was more fun than reality. I understand it's probably not very healthy, but it's just the way it was back then. That's how my life was. And I loved television. Absolutely loved it. And I remember for the first time ever, outside of weekends, I think on a Friday and Saturday night I could stay up later. But the rest of the week I was in bed by 9 or whatever. Even, I don't know what the cut-off was, but probably 9 o'clock when I was a teenager. Like earlier on when I was younger. Maybe 9:30, maybe even 10, I don't know. But once I got my TV, there was no bedtime. Bedtime didn't exist anymore. I'd pretend to go to bed. I mean, I'd be going up at like 7 in the evening. Oh, I'm really tired now. I just made myself yawn. I'd say bye. I'd go, good night everybody, and I'd go around giving everyone a kiss. My brother would say, what are you doing kissing me? I said, I'm just happy because it's got my TV. And he said, oh, fair enough. And don't do it again. I said, okay, sorry. And I'd go upstairs. I'd just skip up the stairs. I wouldn't skip up the stairs. Why would I say that? Whoever skips up the stairs? The skipping room gets tangled, doesn't it? In the banister. But yeah, anyway, I walked up the stairs. I might have ran. I could run back then. But I might have just walked at a steady pace. It's very difficult for me to remember because I didn't write anything down in my diary, and even when I did journals over like 25-year period, I never mentioned stairs. Just never came up. I mean, the only stairs story really is probably when I fell down the stairs twice. It's down here, and then when I was a little kid, fell down some stairs while I was holding a box full of little cars, I think. I think so. Oh yeah, and also, well, yeah, I used to pretend to have fallen down the stairs so I could get days off school. But it didn't really work very well. So once I was doing it and I wanted my stepmum to find me at the bottom of the stairs, I'd be like, oh, I'd be holding my knee or something. On one occasion, so it worked a little bit, but on one occasion she was actually in the bathroom, which is at the top of the stairs. And she came out as I was doing it, as I was like pretending to fall down. And she was watching me the whole time. And couldn't really get away with it anymore. I think she was just watching over the banister. I'm trying to get my head around it. Yeah, because the bathroom, it was just off of the top of the stairs. Yeah. So, it was so lovely just watching TV. I got to see things I'd never seen before. Suddenly I could watch Kojak if I wanted to. Or I could watch, well, MASH. Never heard of MASH. Never heard of Cheers. Never heard of Cheers before. I was watching these programs I'd never heard of before, and like, wow, it was like a whole new world opened up to me. Past 9 o'clock in the evening, things were happening, and these programs was things that I wasn't allowed to watch, that the family didn't watch together. That's when I realised I had a very different taste in programs to the family, you know, like my dad and whatever. They'd watch stuff on a Saturday night that I wouldn't watch. I'd watch it because it was part of the routine, the ritual, whatever. I want to say ritual, I don't mean anything weird. I'm just watching television. There's no sacrifices or anything. Right, kids. Logan Run's finished. The A-team's finished. Right. Let's go in the garden, get all the candles out, and organise today's sacrifice. So, Olivia Newton-John, Xanadu, an Electric Light Orchestra. Don McLean, Crying. Is that the one? Crying over you. Xanadu. I like Xanadu. 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 I don't know why ELO, the Electric Light Orchestra, did another version of Xanadu with a different singer. Why? Why would you need to do that? I'm not judging, I'm just asking, because Olivia Newton-John had such an amazing voice. Odyssey, that got to number 2 in the charts. Odyssey, I don't know, Use It Up and Wear It Out. I don't know if it's about toilet paper, I don't know. Underpants. ABBA, The Winner Takes It All, got number 2. 9th of August 1980. The winner takes it all. It just shows you what I know. I really thought that ABBA had kind of finished in 1979. David Bowie, Ashes to Ashes. Got to number 2, so I would have seen it, because I always watched Top of the Pops. So anything in the top 40, I would have seen. Whether or not I liked it or not, I don't know. But I would have seen it on TV. Ashes to Ashes, Dust to Dust. The Jam, Start, number 1. I don't remember that one. Kelly Marie, Feels Like I'm in Love. I know that one. I got to number 2. Feels like I'm in love. I'm in love. Feels like I'm in love. I know it's getting old, but I'm going to keep doing it. The Police, Don't Stand So Close to Me. Wow. Again, I loved that song. That was number 4. I'm just going to turn around and see. Alright. Carry on, Vinny. But I can't make a movement without him stopping what he's doing. So The Police, Don't Stand So Close to Me, 27th of September, 1980. Barbra Streisand, Woman in Love. I don't think I necessarily particularly appreciated that song at the time, but that was one hell of a song. I'm just a woman in love. Okay, that didn't do it justice, but that is a great song. Number 3 it charted in the UK. I'm going to miss out Blondie because, The Tide is High was the 15th of November 1980, reached number 2. Why is it saying that when earlier on it said it reached number 1? Make up your mind, baby. It's lying to me. It's very strange. Very strange indeed. But 15th of November 1980, so I was 10. 10 and 2 months and a half. ABBA, so it would have been dark outside, wouldn't it, at night? Especially like 7 o'clock or 6:30, whenever that came on, be Radio 1. ABBA's Super Trooper got to number 3. It's November 1980, 29th. Okay, this is weird. So, John Lennon, Just Like Starting Over, 20th of December 1980, got to number 1. No, it's not weird. I just didn't realise that was the first one that they released. Yeah, so that's the 20th of December. That was when John Lennon was unfortunately left us. So they released that song, and then I didn't remember that. I know the song, but for some reason I thought that they released. I'm surprised, considering it was like near Christmas, why they didn't release the Merry Christmas one. Or maybe they put that on the other side. Wow, that's weird, isn't it? Yeah, so John, Imagine and Woman were both, it was number 4, Imagine, and Woman was number 2. That was January and February. Right, they've missed out some weeks here. I think I'll make him. You know what I've just done? Do you know what I'm saying? What number it got to? I made a mistake. That was how many numbers it was. How many weeks it was at number 1. Whoops. Sorry. So, Just Like Starting Over was number 1 for 1 week. Shall I start over? Shall I start the whole recording again? So Imagine, because I'm thinking, wait a minute, Imagine was number 1. And so was Woman. Because I heard it a lot. That was January 81. 10th of January 1981 for 4 weeks. And then Woman, 7th of February 1981 for 2 weeks. I love both those songs. Imagine probably more than woman. Yeah, I loved Imagine. But it was, I don't know when it was first released. It was in the 70s, wasn't it? When did he first release Imagine? Imagine song. Wow. 1971. And it was from his album called John Lennon. No. Yeah, John Lennon. 11th of October 1971. So I very much would have heard it at some point in the 70s. I just don't remember. Now this next song I remember very well, and it was Joe Dolce Music Theatre called Shut Up Your Face. In fact, I can even... Right, when I was in my early 20s, this was not 1981, so not when I was in my early 20s, I'd been 10 back then. Yeah, 10. So, me and my friend Terry, this is in the early 90s, we had this job where we're basically processing things, putting labels on things, whatever. And there was it's just this bad that one of the supervisors used to come round and write down the weights of everything. Like, he'd stand there for a couple of minutes while we did a box or a couple of boxes, filled a couple of boxes up. And for some reason, when he talked, he just reminded both of us of Joe Dolce when he talked in the music. And if you've never seen the video, never seen the song Shut Up Your Face, then it might not mean anything to you, but he had that kind of, he spoke a bit like that. And for some reason, me and him found it funny. I was a young man. I'm not excusing myself, but there you go, there you have it. So what we did, and I don't know why, I don't know how it started, either he or I would start it. So once this man, let's call him Dorius or whatever, and he was standing behind us, one of us would start a conversation. What's the matter, you? That's what the first one would say. The other one would say, got no respect. But he would do it in a sentence. So, what's the matter, you? And the other one would say, you got no respect. Yeah, then the other one would say, what do you think you do? And then the other one, like me and Terry, I'd say, why do you look, what's the matter? Why you feel so bad? Oh, no, is it? Okay, what's the matter, you? Wait a second, I'll do it right in a minute. What's the matter, you? Hey, got no respect. What do you think you do? Why you look so sad? It's a not so bad. Then the other one say, it's a nicer place. Oh, shut up your face. And we did it every single time, and he didn't notice. But we'd do it in a kind of covert way. It wouldn't just like, what's the matter, you? Hey, got no respect. Oh, what do you think you do? Hey, why you look so bad? It's not so bad. It's a nicer place. Ah, shut up your face. That was the song. And when I was a boy, hey, 20 years ago, we probably did that as well. Probably did more of the song, but I can't remember all of it now. It wasn't quite so fresh. It was fresh back then, you know, because you think this is 1981. It was only 10 years earlier that it was in the charts, at number one for 3 weeks. So it was more fresher. Now, another 55 years have gone past. But it made us giggle, and that's the main thing, really. It's kind of borderline rude as well, but hey, I'm not responsible for what that version of me used to be like. I would never do that again, and I apologise sincerely. Roxy Music, Jealous Guy. Now, I didn't understand that. I mean, obviously, I'm going to say obviously, I don't want to be rude to Roxy Music, but they clearly brought out that song off the back of John Lennon situation, because it was literally like the month after John Lennon, Woman. Now, I'd never heard Jealous Guy before, and I didn't know it was a John Lennon song. Why Roxy Music couldn't just let them release John Lennon Jealous Guy, I don't know. But I'm kind of glad he didn't, because, and I don't say this very often, I like cake. No, that wasn't it. Well, I don't, Roxy Music's version of Jealous Guy was better than John Lennon's version. And John Lennon's version was great as well. But Roxy Music took it to a different level. My opinion, obviously, it's my opinion, but so good. It is one of my favourite songs, actually. Now, we're moving into a territory that is very much... Things seem to start to change. This is in the, 1981 period. It's weird. So you got through 1980s, you got all the Pink Floyd, the Pretenders, Specials, Kenny Rogers, Blondie, The Jam. People from the 70s were still kind of, breaking through to the 80s. The Electric Light Talk, ELO, David Bowie, ABBA, Barbra Streisand, John Lennon. I know there's a reason for John Lennon being in the charts, but, there's a lot of stuff from the 80s, that moved over from the 70s. And then in the 1981, things started to change a bit. Shakin' Stevens, although admittedly been around for a long time, became huge. And Bucks Fizz, they had Making Your Mind Up, which was at number 1 for 3 weeks. They won the Eurovision Song Contest for England. Or UK, I'm not sure if it's Britain or England or the UK. I lose track, I only live here. I don't know who they represented. And that was a huge hit, because there was a point where they pulled their miniskirts off, and I was 10 at the time. I don't know why I'm really focusing on my age, but I didn't disapprove. That's all I'm saying. Shakin' Stevens was my favourite singer. I feel a bit embarrassed, because I thought I liked him when I was really little, but I was 10 and a half at this point, so I wasn't really little, which doesn't make sense to me, because I specifically remember walking around the field reading the lyrics to Stand and Deliver, but it was 9th of May 1981. No, that's fine, actually, because I didn't... Yeah, it would have made sense. 1981. I started high school in September 1981, so I've got the memories correct. Because I used to have a magazine called Lookin' magazine. I get it every week. Me and my brothers, we had 2 comics each week. I had Lookin' and The Dandy. So Lookin' was kind of... it was more like a TV magazine, really. It was very much to do with TV and the charts, music. That's what it was really about. It was kind of, yeah, TV, movies, charts. Yeah, it's brilliant. I don't know if it's still around, to be honest, but it was really good. And the Dandy was for fun. I think Looking was for knowledge. It was for keeping up to date and knowing when the next new song's coming out, when the next movie, the next TV show, you know, like when the A-Team's coming back up on TV again and things like that. And there'd be posters that we could get. And I think I started reading, I was going to say ordering, but someone else got it for me, but it was, I'm pretty sure we were living in the road where the house that my nan and granddad moved into. So that'd be 1978 and 78 sort of time. So I started getting that then. Because I remember we were sitting in front of the garden, which is a little bit weird because we normally wouldn't do that, but it must have been very hot. So we were sitting, because how it worked is you had the house. Do you know the front of a house? And there's the front door. So I'll give you a description of the house where I lived. It was my favourite house ever. And then my nan and granddad lived there as well my nan lived there from 1979 to probably about 2010, maybe 2009. 89, 79, 89, 99, so she was there 30 years at least. And I loved that house, but it just wasn't big enough for a new sprog. So when my little brother was born, it was okay for a short while because he could stay in their bedroom, in the parents' bedroom, while he was a baby. But babies grow, and there was solutions, like, well, we need to find a solution for this situation, and apparently my solution of just getting rid of him wasn't a popular one. That was voted down. So, they kept the baby and moved to a bigger house. I wanted to stay there. I had my own bedroom. I liked that house. It's the only house I've ever liked, ever. I loved that house, and it was the first nice place I'd ever lived. And I think because the memories of being there for the first year, and also my little brother being born, that was a beautiful time as well, and he was running around. It's like having a little puppy, isn't it, really, when you get a baby? It's very entertaining, and then the novelty wears off. I shouldn't say stuff like that, but it is true. So, as a kid, it was true. Okay, right. And then when my nan and granddad living there, a kind of, from 91 onwards, my nan was living there on her own. So I was visiting, and just that house was in my life for 40 years or 30 odd years. And it was the only place, really. I mean, my dad's house now has been he's lived at the same place since probably early 90s. So that's a long time, isn't it? Yeah, so what's it, 90, 2000, 2010, 20, 35 years or whatever he's lived there. Blimey, 34, 33, 34. So I'm kind of used to him, but I don't go there very often, but I'm used to that. I'm kind of used to living here now, although I could really perhaps do something a little bit better with the place. I don't quite know what. I mean, how do you improve perfection? I don't know. But anyway, so you're looking at the front of the house. There's a window downstairs, a window upstairs. So the window downstairs on the right, and there's a bit of grass on the right. And then there's another house connected. So it was a semi-detached house. The other house connected was basically just the opposite, although they did knock through. So I remember going there, they knocked through the living room into they knocked through the living room into the kitchen. And I think they had an extension as well, so it's a much bigger space inside their house. But then they had less garden, because the back garden wasn't big really. It was a nice size. I mean, I'd be very happy with a size, a small one. I mean, small one's better than no one at all, isn't it? You know what I mean? So, but looking at the front, the window downstairs was for the living room. The living room. The windows upstairs, the one above that was for was my nan's bedroom, but it was originally my dad's and his wife's bedroom. And then you've got the front door to the left. Upstairs from that, the first window up there was my bedroom window. Mine. My first ever bedroom. My first ever bedroom. I mean, wow. It's my first. As a child, I had 3 bedrooms of my own. I was very lucky, actually. In a way, although I didn't, I preferred the small house, but both my older brothers were sharing a room. It wasn't really fair on them. But I did realise at the time, although it wasn't fair on them, my happiness was way more important. I realised that when I was 7. I came to that conclusion. And when I was 8, I thought, there's too many of us now. One of the older ones needs to move out. Or maybe if both of the older ones move out, then the baby can go into the other room. Well, I can move into that room because it's bigger, and he can move into the small room. And we just don't mention the other brothers again. But, I was 8 years old. Logic wasn't at the top. I don't think I was built for a big family. I know some people say, well, it's only 4 kids. It's not a big family. But it was noisy. Very, very, very noisy. Very chaotic at times. And I don't know, I didn't always enjoy it, if I'm honest. I was very different from them. And we were all very different, really. I wasn't really into crowds. And 4 kids, 2 adults is a crowd. That's a crowded space. I liked my space. I remember my dad shouting up at the window once, and where are you, Jason? I said, I'm in I'm here, I'm in the bedroom. I said, why are you asking me where I am? He said, what do you mean? I said, you're literally standing below my window, shouting up at my window, asking me where I am. If you didn't know where I was, then why would you be looking at the window? You clearly know I'm here, don't you? He said, well, I can see you now. I said, no, I mean, before I was standing at the window, you were shouting up at the window. And he said, how do you know I was standing at the window shouting up if you weren't at the window looking down? How do you know where I was? I said, because when I got to the window, you were standing there. I said, maybe when I got to the window, you were standing there. And he said that. One of us said it. And he said, should we just stop this now? I said, what do you mean? He said, well, I don't know, I think I'd just rather go back to talking about the music. I mean, how did you even get on to talking about rooms and, you know, wishing you'd had a smaller family? How do you get from Blondie and Shakin' Stevens and Bucks Fizz and to that? I mean, you were talking about walking around the field, reading the lyrics from Looking magazine, and you were confused whether or not that memory was correct because you remember doing that around your, like the little school you went to, and you had to correct and realise that whether or not it was true, but it was true because you weren't at high school yet. I said, okay. I said, well, what are you getting at? He said, I don't know, I thought we'd just maybe get back to the music. I said, well, what about the description of the house? He said, do you think anyone really wants to know the description of a house that you lived in when you were 8 years old? I don't know. Some people might. He said, how many rooms was there? Well, bedrooms, you mean? He said, yeah. 3. And downstairs, what was there? Living room. Kitchen? Yeah, kitchen. Anything else? Oh, well, there was a bathroom upstairs. And there was a toilet downstairs. But the bathroom also had a toilet. But the toilet was very small. Not the toilet itself. The toilet was normal size. But the room that the toilet was in was quite small. In fact, it was a little bit of a struggle to get in there when I was sort of a bit bigger. Got stuck once. But I don't want to talk about it. Very hard to manoeuvre. Because there's certain manoeuvres during a toilet session that needs a degree of movement and flexibility. And if you're squashed against 2 walls, it's hard, you know, without sort of going into details. Yeah, go on, tell me more. Did you get very far? Tell me more. Like, did he have a car? Right, okay, back to the songs. Adam and the Ants, Stand and Deliver. See, I remember seeing on morning TV, probably Saturday morning, there was not a documentary, but there was like a short thing where they were talking about the behind the scenes of making that video, Stand and Deliver. I don't know if you remember the lyrics for that. It was stand and deliver your money or your life. Try and use a mirror, not a bullet or a knife. And even though you choose to blow, your conscience will be mine or mine. Even though you choose to... I wonder what the word was I missed out. Actually, to start with, it would be oh ha, oh ho, oh ha, oh ho, do 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 do. Oh no, that's a don't you ever, don't you? Okay, different song. I remember this one, Smokey Robinson, Being With You. Is that the one? I don't care what they say about me, and I don't care what they do. I don't care about anything else but being with you, being with you. People to say, and they always do, I did it for you. I remember he was walking on a beach, Smokey Robinson, with his really soft voice, walking on a beach, maybe barefooted, I don't know. I wasn't looking at his feet. I wasn't looking at any part of his body. I'm just saying that I wasn't particularly focused on his feet. But I do remember it was a beach. And it was at number 1 for 2 weeks. And I liked that song. Now, I don't remember Michael Jackson being number 1 with One Day in Your Life. Because from the looks of it, Michael Jackson did not have a number 1 during 1980. But 1981, 27th of June, he had One Day in Your Life. So I'm surprised at that. Why was that? Well, just the reason I'm surprised is because he had Off the Wall, which was either, I think it was 79, and One Day in Your Life was not on Off the Wall. So where did One Day in Your Life? It was released in from the album One Day in Your Life, 1981. Really? So I'm confused. So I'm looking at One Day in Your Life is a song recorded by American singer Michael Jackson for his 1975 album Forever Michael, which I like. That album. It's a great album. Lyrics by Renee Armand, was issued as a single in the UK in 1975. Later released March 20th, 1981 as a single from the compilation album One Day in Your Life, due to the commercial interest that generated from the sales of Jackson's hit 1979 album Off the Wall. Okay. While a modest US hit, it was a bigger hit in the UK. It became the 6th best-selling single of 1981. That's kind of weird. Not weird, just if I think of 1981, I thought that he released Thriller, but maybe it was later on than that. Shakin' Stevens, Julie. Whoa, whoa, Julie. I loved Shakin' Stevens. I used to dance like Shakin' Stevens. Or, as I used to like it to say that, if I could say the words, at the time, I used to like to tell people, Shakin' Stevens likes to dance like me. Kraftwerk, the model. Now, I don't remember this at the time. Great song. She's a model and she's looking good. Love that song. They're the type of songs that I just don't hear anywhere. I don't, I kind of forget about them. And then when I hear them, I think, wow, I love that song. The Jam, town called Malice, sorry. I like that as well, it's good. Oh, Tight Fit. Does anyone remember this one? In the jungle, the Dalek jungle, the lion sleeps tonight. In the jungle. That was a good song, I like that. 3 weeks it was number 1. I'm just going to go down. Paul McCartney and Stevie Wonder, Ebony and Ivory, 24th of April 1982. Wow. Now, I would have been 11 years old. So I was in the first year of high school. Ebony and Ivory. So yeah, I was number 1 for 3 weeks, so I loved that song. I used to sing the lyrics. It's something I used to do in high school. Not all the time. But sometimes I needed to be on my own. And I'd walk around the field, the playfield, and I would sing to myself. And I'd sing the songs like Ebony and Ivory, or I'd sing Madness songs, or, different songs. But that was one of my favourite songs at the time. Nicole, A Little Piece, don't know that one. Madness, House of Fun, got to number 1 for 2 weeks. Goody Two Shoes, Adam and the Ant. No, Adam Ant, not Adam and the Ants. Captain Sensible, Happy Talk. Happy talking, happy talk. Talk about things you like to do. Love that song. I've Never Been to Me, Charlene. That's a great song as well. Wow, I forgot about that one. And then, of course, Fame. I Want to Live Forever. And that was July 1982. Dexys Midnight Runners, Come On Eileen. Number 4. That was number 1 for 4 weeks, August 82. And yeah, I remember that. That was a really popular song during my disco years when I was a DJ. Survivor was it? Because you just play this at the beginning of the first few chords of the song, do 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 do, and people would know are just like do 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 do, with Wham. So do 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 do. Okay, it sounded kind of right to me when I first started singing it. Eye of the Tiger by Survivor, great song. But that was like Rocky, wasn't it? Eye of the Tiger. That was number 1 for 4 weeks. So I'm guessing that was because of the Rocky movie. Oh, this is another song that I don't hear very often. Pass the Duchy from Musical Youth, 1982, October. And I still to this day do not know what they're talking about. Or what they were saying. Like, it's like, each denariation, their version, whatever. It's like, what? But I loved them. I actually, yeah, wow. I bought their album. One of the first ever albums I bought. I bought that album, Musical Youth. I did. And I listened to all of it. I liked all their songs. Culture Club, Do You Really Want to Hurt Me? Now, Culture Club was a weird one because I loved all their stuff as well. 1982, 23rd of October. I don't know if it's their first song, but it's the first song to get to number 1 according to this. Now, I remember we was on holiday in Wales. And we were watching the TV, black and white TV. We had this little portable thing running off a generator. And we were all sitting around. Maybe there was a campfire, I don't know. In fact, it's probably during the day. But it was summer, so it might have been in the evening. It's not really relevant, is it, to the story? We need to know precisely what time it was and what was everyone wearing. And who had the most regular bowel movement at that time. No, we don't need all that information. There was a conversation, right, about Boy George. Because Boy George was so pretty. If you could look back, he was a very attractive person. Beautiful eyes, or I'm just saying this, just I would say factual. He's very. I loved him. Anyway, we were having this argument between us. So the 5 of us. Well, there's what is there? Me, my oldest brother, my other brother that was also older than me, the father, the mother, and we're all saying, well, arguing between us, like, is it a boy or is it a girl? Is it a man or is it a woman? Apart from my little brother, who was, I think he was just like, I want to do a poo. I need a poo. Because he was only 4 years old, wasn't he? He wasn't too interested in Culture Club. I'm pretty sure one of us, maybe me, I don't know, maybe someone else, said maybe it's in the name. Boy George. But it looks like a girl. She looks like a girl. It was confusing because back then, its name was Boy George. It was kind of, it's weird, but he was so gorgeous. He's still doing good. I've seen him, well, not recent, but like in recent years on some of these music shows that he does, where he's a judge, and he seems to be ageless. I'd say another one that was beautiful, and that's Adamant. He wore all that makeup, but he didn't need, because that was part of his act, wasn't it? But he was super handsome. Actually pretty. He was pretty. Anyway, I don't know why I'm talking about that, but because they were kind of the same kind of period, weren't they, I suppose? Eddie Grant. I don't wanna dance. Wasn't that also on a beach? That was at number 1 for 3 weeks. The Jam, Beach Surrender. Don't remember that one. Renee and Renato, 18th of December 82, 4 weeks. I remember this one. I'm not going to sing it, but it was like, save your love, my darling, save your love. And it was great. So that was 82. I could go on. I'm going to do 83 because 83 was a big year. This is probably when I got into my favourite songs. And it's not just because Michael Jackson was in the charts, but some of my top songs, I would say, maybe not, but not all of my songs I liked got to number 1. But you got Phil Collins, You Can't Hurry Love, Men at Work, Down Under, and, well, it's okay, 2 of my favourite songs that I remember of that year, because that's when I went into hospital and had my appendix out. Men at Work, Down Under, and Bonnie Tyler, Total Eclipse of the Heart. Both those songs were my favourite songs at the time. So I had my appendix out probably, I don't know, summer 83? Maybe like May, maybe, I don't know. I was still at school. God, that would have actually, I'd have been distraught if I'd had to have that time in hospital and then that time recovering and didn't get to lose any school time. That would have been, luckily I did. I managed to lose some time at school, so that's good. Kajagoogoo, Too Shy. Michael Jackson, Billie Jean got to number 1. Duran Duran, Is There Something I Should Know? I remember this was, is there something I should know? Is there something I should know? Is there something I should know? See, I never give up. David Bowie, Let's Dance. Let's Dance. Spandau Ballet, True. So I would say Every Breath You Take. New Edition, Candy Girl. I like that song. Every Breath You Take was good. Rod Stewart, Paul Young, Wherever I Lay My Hat. Now this is weird because something's missing, and I'm going to skip ahead. So Culture Club, Come a Chameleon, Red Red Wine, UB40. I remember listening to Red Red Wine, and that was one of my favourite songs of that year as well. But I don't remember the little rapping bit at the end. You see, that's the ice cream van. It's been like a hurricane out there, half a hurricane today. That was very loud. Yeah, it was a very loud ice cream van. It's almost like it was inside the building. Yeah, Paul Young. Loved Paul Young. UB40, Red Red Wine. I was at the roller skating rink that we had. And it was it's like a size of a small garden. It wasn't like a big thing. But it was brilliant. Because there was very, very little to do where I lived. So I used to go there, and I remember listening to Red Red Wine because they'd play songs, hit songs, probably from a jukebox or maybe, I don't know from where, maybe it was from the radio, and they'd play that loudspeakers. And I remember sometimes I'd think that there was a mixture of characters that I'd like to play. One was Inspector Clouseau, but then it was also mixed in with Frank Spencer, like clumsy, accident prone, and doing weird things. So I'd end up roller skating around the wrong way, because there was one way to skate, and I'd go around the wrong way and be screaming, and basically only amusing myself. No one else found it interesting or humorous. But I thought it was brilliant. But unfortunately, I used to lose control. And yeah, but it was fun for me, not for anyone else, but for me. And you know what they did? They got rid of, the town or whoever got rid of the roller skating disc thing. It was like a disco really, but they got rid of it. It was outside, I think. Maybe it did have a cover on it, I don't know. They got rid of it, and they put in like a dustbin. They replaced it with some kind of a place for dustbins. And it was one of the best places to go in town for kids. That was the first time I'd ever roller skated, and the roller skates were old. Never had anyone's that could fit me, because my feet were extra big. I had like clown's feet. That's why I discovered I was never able to swim above water, but underwater I could get from one end to the other in like 3 seconds because of my big feet. I used to do the Man from Atlantis style of swimming, where I just basically looked like an eel, just flapping. And if you ever seen Man from Atlantis, just Google it or YouTube, like Man from Atlantis swimming, and you'll see how he swims. That's how I used to swim. It was very. I'm surprised I didn't hurt myself. Although sometimes I did used to bang myself on the face, because I couldn't always see when I was getting to the end. But I used to do complete lengths underwater, but I struggled to do half a length on top of the water. Billy Joel, Uptown Girl, I remember that. The Flying Pickets. I know. I'm not saying I remember Uptown Girl like I've forgotten all about that song. No, I mean, I remember like the original when it came out. The Flying Pickets. I like this. This was at number 1 for 5 weeks, and I remember, because I think it was number 1 at Christmas. Yeah, it was. And it was basically a cappella. So they all sung together, but there's no music. Do 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 do. So one would say do 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 do, but then someone else would go ooh ooh. Someone else would be singing la 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 la, and another person would go oh oh, and together it sounded ridiculous individually, but together it sounded well, it still would have sounded ridiculous if it was me singing, but it sounded good with them doing it. Paul McCartney, Pipes of Peace, 1984. See, that doesn't make sense to me, right? All I can imagine is Pipes of Peace. It was released at Christmas because it was a Christmas song. It was based on the football match between the Germans and the English. I think it was the Germans and English during the First World War. And Christmas Day, they kind of had a truce and played football and showed each other pictures of their families. I don't know how realistic that was, but... And then they went back to their trenches. And I think someone accidentally had someone else's picture there of their wife and thought, whoa. I don't know if that's true. I added that. And it was I really liked that song. But it didn't get to number 1 until the 14th of January, 84. So I'm guessing it was like number 2 or something at Christmas. Frankie Goes to Hollywood, 1984. Now my memory of this is, first of all, it was very, very controversial. Very controversial. Like, in my childhood, I would say probably the most controversial song during that period that I could remember. Yeah, I would say that. So it's January 1984, so I was 13. And what I remember, there was one particular, my stepmom was singing it, because Radio 1 banned it. And as soon as Radio 1 banned it, it got to number 1. It was number 1 for 5 weeks. They wouldn't play the video on Top of the Pops. In fact, I don't think they'd even play the song on Top of the Pops, because that was like BBC. Radio 1 was BBC, so I'm not quite sure how they worked around it. But I did see the video, so I saw it somewhere. I just remember seeing my stepmom dancing around, singing, or holding a spatula or something. I think she was cooking in the kitchen, and she was like singing, "Relax, don't do it." She was like dancing with the song, because it was a huge hit. I mean, it was the biggest song possibly in the Western world at the time. I'm not sure how popular it was in the Middle East, I don't know, but it definitely... Russia, but I don't know if it really hit the charts in Russia or in Korea, I don't know, or China, I'm not sure. But in the Western sphere, it was a very big song. And there's this one bit where she was singing and she was dancing, and then she just stopped, just as they said, "Relax, don't do it. When you want to relax, don't do it." And they're like, "When you want to come." And she just stopped and stood there as a statue. And I was thinking, I wonder, do you know what the song's about? Mummy dearest, do you know? Because I knew. I kind of knew. Someone told me. A friend. I read it in a magazine. No, I did know what it was about. I knew what I did. I kind of did. I didn't completely, to be honest. I was 13 years old. I kind of knew. But I just remember thinking, I don't think she knows what the song's about. 99 Red Balloons, Nina. 99. Didn't she do that in like a different language? Did it in German, didn't she? Or part of the song in German? I don't know. Maybe it was a different language. That was number 1 for 3 weeks. Lionel Richie, Hello. Yeah, that was... Do you know what? There was 2 songs, and both of them were from 1984, which men, I don't want to say all men, but some males used as in a way to be romantic to ladies. Some ladies, some men and some ladies. And one of those was on a telephone. Hello, is it me? Or, like, you know, when someone answered the phone, or they'd call hello. And another one was Stevie Wonder. I just called to say I love you. You know, it's like, oh, it's so cheesy. But I don't know if it worked. I don't know. I tried it in later years, but it didn't work. I tried it once at school, at the time, like 1984, but just got me detention. Apparently, shouldn't be talking to the teacher like that. Inappropriate. Lionel Richie, Hello, Duran Duran, The Reflex, Wham, Wham, Wake Me Up Before You Go. So I was definitely working at this point in the bakery, in the restaurant place. Yeah, so I was hearing these songs regularly, including Relax, because they had Radio Caroline on, which was a band station, but anyone could get it. You just had to just tune into it, and it was this ship docked off of like in the waters, I think just out of British waters, so it wasn't like breaking any rules, but it didn't have a license. And they'd play all the top hits. And then I think they became legal and whatever. Turned into another, I don't really know the history actually. I've been making it up, and as you know, I don't like to make things up. I like to be very factual. See, this is my period, 1984 again. Pipes of Peace, Relax, Hello, The Reflex, Flex, Duran Duran. So I was definitely working in the bakehouse at this time. Saturday and Sunday mornings, early. And also during the summer as well. So 1984, during the summer I was doing it. And I was also... Right, I can give you an idea. Right. So I was doing karate, but I remember one particular... the only song I remember whilst I was doing karate, and I'm going down here, is 1985. There Must Be an Angel, Playing With My Heart, and that was number 1, 27th of July 1985. I don't know how on earth that didn't stay at number 1 forever, because it was, in my opinion, one of the greatest vocals ever. I mean, just ever. It was phenomenal. Annie Lennox just had one heck of a voice. But I remember, I don't know why, I just remember hearing that song during that period of doing karate, and that period I wouldn't have seen Top of the Pops because I was out every Tuesday and Thursday evening, apart from during the summer, the summer period, so like during July, so July I wouldn't have been doing it, but I might have been meeting up with them because we used to meet up at a park. Because once the school was closed, couldn't use the what's it? The hall, the sports hall for however many weeks. But I still trained. So I'm going to go back. Frankie Goes to Hollywood, 2 Tribes. Again, loved that. So definitely 1984, I was working in the bakery. George Michael, Careless Whisper. Stevie Wonder, I just call to say I love you. September 1984, the 8th of September. That was number 1 for 6 weeks. 2 Tribes was number 1 for 9 weeks. Wow. So that's got to be one of Stevie Wonder's biggest all-time hits as far as like being number 1. Did he get to number 1 for longer than that with any other songs? I don't know. That perhaps is a Tuesday trivia. I don't know. Maybe this is trivia. Is this trivia? I don't know. This is kind of trivia and boredom at the same time, isn't it? But I'm just talking about my favourite songs. So, The Power of Love. That is my favourite Frankie Goes to Hollywood song out of all of them. The Power of Love. No, it isn't. Wait a minute, there was another one. Oh, no. The power of love, it comes from above, here in my home. So Relax, 2 Tribes, The Power of Love, all got to number 1 in 1984. Didn't they do another song that I liked? They did another song that I liked. Where is it? I've got to go back. Discography. Oh, Welcome to the Pleasure Dome. Welcome to the Pleasure Dome. So why is that not listed then? That's what I don't understand. It's not listed. Frankie Goes to Hollywood. Welcome to the Pleasure Home. Nope, it's not listed in 1984. So this isn't all correct, I would argue. So, unless it was the B-side, perhaps. I should have known better, Jim Diamond. Is that was I should have known better, do 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 do, which is a wonderful song. And then Do They Know It's Christmas, December 1984. So it's a Christmas number 1. 5 weeks it was number 1. So yeah, definitely, I love that song as well. But I love the American one as well. The Christmas, the American version, I just can't remember what it's called now, but I like that as well. I thought they're both great. And it was both for the same reason, wasn't it? It's just the American one had like Michael Jackson and Stevie Wonder and The Boss, and I don't mean Molly, I mean Bruce Springsteen, and Tina Turner and Cyndi Lauper. Did Madonna do it as well? Because you know what, I seem to think it might be a weird thing to say, but Cyndi Lauper is like Madonna kind of. I'm not saying Madonna copied Cyndi Lauper, but Cyndi Lauper was kind of almost like the original Madonna. But then you could say that Blondie, Debbie, anyway, Blondie, that maybe she was the original Madonna. And I'm not saying this just because they're blonde, but they're not all blonde, are they? I mean, Debbie Harry, not Alan, Debbie Harry was blonde, but she probably wasn't blonde. Anyway, Cyndi Lauper had all colours of hair. Time after time. I love that song so much. And then Madonna, oh, the dog's barking again. Hasn't barked hardly anything today. I tell you, it's weird. I looked out the window the other day because the dog was just barking and barking and barking, and I'm thinking, why doesn't the owner try and calm the dog down? Because I do that when Vinny starts barking. I try and calm him down so that the neighbours are not disturbed. I looked out the window and she's just standing there, or he, whoever it is, just standing there watching the dog barking, like really loud for a good 10-15 minutes. I'm like, I wasn't watching for 10-15 minutes, but it'd been barking for that amount of time before I looked. And I was just checking to make sure everything was okay. And I'm thinking, wow, I don't think, even if I'd got like 10 different doctorates in some kind of different psychological subjects, I still wouldn't understand humans. Foreigner, I want to know what love is. I want you to show me. Elaine Page, oh, I know him so well. Dead or alive, you spin me right round, like a record. So Phil Bailey and Phil, Easy Lover, I love that song. What happened to Phil Bailey? Because I would argue Phil Bailey was the best vocals on that song. And I am a Phil Collins fan, but Phil Bailey, them two together, they should have done more. You may argue against this, you might think, oh, it's a silly thing to say. But I'll say it anyway. I like jam, especially on my car. You might think it's a silly thing to say, but I kind of think that they should have done more together as a kind of a little double act. You know? I mean, Phil Collins had a lot on his plate, didn't he? Let's face it. He's very greedy, he was. He used to eat a lot. But no, he had his band, and then he had his own, solo career. But the harmonies with him and Phil Bailey singing together was just beautiful. And I would like to have seen them do more together. That's my personal opinion. I mean, I realise we're 85, 95, 2005, 2015, 2025, 40 years too late, but hey. Oh, We Are the World. So that was the American version of our one. And we are the world, we are the children. They were both, I wouldn't argue, but I would say both equally great songs. Just ruined a bit by the video. I don't know, just both of them, I just don't like. I know that was the cause, that was the reason for the music, I know that. But I've always struggled with things like these big charity events where they have comedy music, but there's like really funny comedy sketch, and then they'll go to a really super serious subject, and I can't switch myself like that. That's why I have to avoid some TV channels, because some of these like daytime channels, and they're on in the evening as well, where they'll show old TV shows, old comedies, which I quite like watching sometimes. Like Whatever Happened to the Likely Lads, and just shows from like decades ago that I just quite like watching. But then in the adverts, it's like donkey sanctuaries and eyelid surgery and all. It's like, I just like, no man, I'm trying to just enjoy myself and just chill out. So yeah, I'm just moaning, and Phyllis Nelson, Move Closer, Move Closer. And of course, Paul Hardcastle, 19. Number 1 for 5 weeks. I mean, that really, that was one heck of a video, wasn't it? I mean, if you don't remember, it was 19, 19, 19, 19, 19, 19, 19. Yeah, wow. The Crowd, You'll Never Walk Alone. Now that's been done so many times, isn't it? My favourite version is Elvis Presley. Walking through a storm, lift your head up high. And Sister Sledge, Frankie. I love that song. Frankie. And dressed as cheerleaders, which we didn't have in this country. So cheerleaders was something that was foreign to this country in 1985. And they were doing, I don't know, it's like a triangle where they all stand on each other's heads and stuff. And it was brilliant. I loved it. Really big fan of that song. Number 1 for 4 weeks. Then Eurythmics, There Must Be an Angel. 27th of July, 1985. That's one of my all-time favourite songs. It just is. It will always be. But sometimes I forget. That it is. Because although individually I like a lot of the Eurythmics songs, I never ever once listened to a Eurythmics album. Madonna, Into the Groove, 1985. That was kind of, Madonna was starting, just making was that her first song in number 1? Yeah, I think it was her first number 1 song in the UK, 4 weeks. And then UB40, Chrissy Hyde, I Got You Babe. Yeah, I like that. David Bowie and Mick Jagger, Dancing in the Street. 4 weeks at number 1. I think that it was like a comedy video, wasn't it? And seeing David Bowie and Mick Jagger literally dancing, it was so funny that people just they wanted to keep watching it on TV, the video. Mid-Jure, If I Was, that was a good song as well. If I Was, that was number 1. Jennifer Rush, The Power of Love, wow. Huge hit. A great ballad. Wow, yeah, amazing. Fergal Sharkey, A Good Heart. A Good Heart. Yeah, I like that. I'm Your Man, Wham. Whitney Houston, Save All My Love for You. So that was Whitney Houston's first number 1 hit. 2 weeks, and it was the 14th of December, 85. So I was now 15. Shakin' Stevens' Merry Christmas Everyone was the 28th of December. So technically, Saving All My Love For You was the Christmas number one. But Shakin' Stevens, I thought that Merry Christmas Everyone was the number one song for Christmas. But it says 28th of December. But then it might be wrong. It would be the most played song though, at that time, being Christmas and all that. So that was like 1985 was the last full year of living in the big house with my family. And then we just had the first few months of 1986. So West End Girls, Pet Shop Boys, Aha, The Sun Always Shines on TV, Billy Ocean, When the Going Gets Tough, the tough get going. Diana Ross still making songs, Chain Reaction. Wasn't that an old song? I mean, it is now, I guess, but wasn't... Cliff Richard and the Young Ones, Living Doll. So that was the Young Ones, as in Rick Mel, Adrian Edmondson, and the other two. I forget their names now. I never did learn the name of the little one. George Michael, A Different Corner. Falco, Rock Me Amadeus. Wow. Rock Me Amadeus. Amadeus, Amadeus. Amadeus, Amadeus, Amadeus. Love that song. Rock Me Amadeus. Blimey. Papa Don't Preach. I remember that. 12th of July 1986. I was living in that flat with my stepmum's mum. My step-grandmother. And I used to watch Papa Don't Preach, the video. And I loved it. Loved that video. Although True Blue, I loved that video much more. I had it on tape, recorded it, and I wore the tape out. I loved it that much. But as a song, Papa Don't Preach is one of my favourite songs Madonna ever did. Just that one-off song. I loved it. I mean, I love the album, True Blue, and that's one of my two favourite albums of Madonna, True Blue and Like a Prayer. Wow. Christy Berg, Lady in Red. Wow. So my 16th birthday, okay, when I turned 16, the number one song was Boris Gardner, I Want to Wake Up With You. I don't think anyone's ever said that to me. I want to wake up with you. Anyway, I'm going to bring this to an end because noisy people are outside again. So I want to say thank you for listening. Remember to be kind to yourself because you do deserve to be happy. And be gentle with yourself. You deserve to feel safe. Lots of love. Bye.